Welcome to another World of Warcraft Cataclysm Classic Guide, where our focus today diverts us towards Holy Priests. In this guide, we will cover our strengths and weaknesses, what race to choose, our talents and glyphs, our single target and our raid healing rotations, spells, cooldowns and abilities, stat priority, enchants, gems, and finally consumables. We as Holy Priests do not bring as much utility as Disciplined Priests, but we make up for it in sheer healing output. We have a wide arsenal of area of effect healing spells, or AOE healing for short, putting out some of the best AOE heals available in the entire game. On fights with heavy raid-wide damage, we excel above the rest of the healing classes, with our ability to keep everyone alive nearly and entirely on our own. I know you might be asking if choosing a Holy Priest is a viable option in Cata. Well, the short answer is yes. Show your support by liking and subscribing to my channel. And if you don't, that's okay, you are awesome anyways. Now that we have covered a small introduction about Holy Priests, let's talk about our strengths and weaknesses. Our strengths revolve normally on us being extremely high AOE healers, allowing us to quickly top up raids, our diverse healing kit, which allows us to have a range of different playstyles, and finally, our great flexibility, allowing us to cover all and any healing needs, while our weaknesses revolve around the very little utility we can bring, which is identified only by our Guardian Spirit cooldown. We are a very mana-hungry class without proper management. And finally, our struggles with single target healing compared to other healers. In this section, we will cover which is the best race to pick when playing one of the two factions. Trolls or goblins should be your pick if you play Horde, while gnomes or humans if you play Alliance. Choosing a race is a personal preference, but the choices I mentioned are because of the racials these races offer. Trolls have the Berserker racial, which gives you a 20% casting speed for 10 seconds, while Goblins have the Time is Money racial, which when used gives you a 1% increased casting speed. On the other hand, humans have the Human Spirit racial, increasing your spirit by 3%, and gnomes have Expansive Mind, increasing your mana by 5%. Now, let us dive into the specifics, discussing our talent choices, glyphs, enchants, gems, and consumables we will use as Holy Priests. For our talents, we will be spending 32 points in the Holy Tree, 6 points in our Discipline Tree, and the remaining 3 points in our Shadow Tree. We will divide our Holy Tree talent points as follows. In Tier 1, 2 points in Improved Renew, 3 in Empowered Healing, and 3 in Divine Fury. For Tier 2, 1 point in Desperate Prayer, 2 in Surge of Light, and 2 in Inspiration. For Tier 3, 2 points in Divine Touch, 2 in Holy Concentration, 1 in Lightwell, and 2 in Tome of Light. For Tier 4, 1 point in Rapid Renewal, and 2 points in Serendipity. For Tier 5, 1 point in Chakra, and 1 in Revelations. For Tier 6, 3 points in Test of Faith, 2 in Heavenly Voice, 1 in Circle of Healing, and finally in Tier 7, 1 point goes to Guardian Spirit. For our Discipline Tree, we will add 3 points in Twin Disciplines and 3 points in Mental Energy, while in our Shadow Tree, we will add 3 points in Darkness. This is how our talent tree will look like once we have all our talent tree points added. As we move forward from our talents, the next topics we will cover are glyphs and enchants. Glyphs are divided into 3 sections: Prime, Major, and Minor glyphs. We will use the Glyph of Renew, Glyph of Lightwell, and Glyph of Prayer of Healing for our Prime glyphs. Glyph of Circle of Healing, Glyph of Prayer of Mending, and Glyph of Mass Dispel for our major glyphs, Glyph of Fortitude, Glyph of Shadow Fiend, and Glyph of Levitate for our minor glyphs. As for enchants, the story is a little more complex, because most of our gear requires a specific type of enchant. In this section, I will dive into what enchants you will need for each piece of your gear, starting with the Arcanum of Hyjal for our head slot. The Greater Inscription of Charged Lodestone goes towards the shoulders, or the Fellfire Inscription, if you have chosen Inscription as a profession. Next is the Enchant Cloak of Greater Intellect, or the Dark Glow Embroidery, if you have picked Tailoring as a profession. Our next set of gear is the Chest Piece, where the Enchant Chest of Peerless Stats is the go-to enchant, while the Enchant Bracer of Mighty Intellect should be applied to the Bracer, or the Draconic Embossment of Intellect, if you have leatherworking as a profession. A side note here, enchants might be expensive on the AH. Use the Socket Bracer as a secondary enchant instead, should you have blacksmithing as a profession. For the hand slot, our choices are Enchant Gloves of Haste or Enchant Gloves of Greater Mastery. Players with engineering and blacksmithing as professions can choose the Synapse, Springs, or Socket gloves. For the waist, the Ebon Steel Belt Buckle is the only enchant you will need. For the legs, we will use either the Sanctified Spell Thread or the powerful Ghostly Spell Thread. For the feet, our best choice is the Enchant Boots of Lava Walker. To add an enchant to your rings, you will need enchanting as a profession, and you will add the Enchant Ring of Intellect. Finally, we will use the Enchant Weapon of Power Torrent for our main hand, and the Enchant Offhand of Superior Intellect for our offhand weapon. Now let's discuss gems, consumables, flasks, and potions. For gems, our choices are Ember Shadow Spirit Diamond for the Meta Gem slot, the Brilliant Inferno Ruby for the Red Gem slot, the Reckless Ember Topaz goes to the Yellow slot, and for the Blue Gem slot, we will use the Purified Demon's Eye. There are some additional gems we can use if we have Jewel Crafting and Engineering. These gems are the Brilliant Chimera's Eye, the Sparkling Cogwheel, and the Quick Cogwheel. For consumables, we will use the Fortune Cookie, or the Seafood Magnifique Feast, or the Severed Sagefish Head. For flasks and potions, we will use the Flask of the Draconic Mind, the Volcanic Potion, and the Mythical Mana Potion. Now that we have covered the talent tree, glyphs, enchants, consumables, and gems, let's talk about stat priority and spell summary. As Holy Priest, our stats are split into 5 categories: Intellect, Spirit, Haste Rating, Mastery Rating, and Critical Strike. With the stat priority covered, let's discuss spells, cooldowns, and abilities. In this section, we'll cover all our spells starting with Chakra. Chakra will transform into one of 3 buffs depending on the next spell we cast, allowing us to benefit from either Chakra Serenity, Chakra Sanctuary, or Chakra Chastise. As a Holy Priest, we will almost exclusively be using Chakra Sanctuary. Next we have Holy Word Chastise. This spell has the ability to upgrade depending on which chakra state we are in. Chakra Serenity will upgrade our Holy Word Chastise into Holy Word Serenity, which is used for single target healing. Chakra Sanctuary will upgrade our Holy Word Chastise into Holy Word Sanctuary, which is a strong AOE healing spell. Next we have Circle of Healing. This spell instantly heals a target and 5 nearby party or raid members. When Circle of Healing is combined with its glyph, the number of healed target will increase to 6, but the mana cost is also increased by 20%. Lightwell allows us to create a clickable Lightwell, providing players with a moderate amount of heals over time. Prayer of Healing heals the target and their nearby party members. Next we have Prayer of Mending, healing the affected target with a moderate amount of healing and then bouncing to another nearby ally. Then we have Greater Heal, which is a slow cast, single target heal. After that we have Flash Heal, which is a quick single target heal. Casting Flash Heal has a chance to proc Serendipity, which reduces the cast time of our Greater Heal or Prayer of Healing by 2 seconds. Then we have Binding Heal, which heals you and a friendly ally. Next we have Renew, which places a heal over time on an ally. Then we have Power Word Shield, which buffs an ally with a shield that absorbs damage and prevents spell pushback while it lasts. We have additional utility spells that can be game-changing when used in the proper scenario, starting with Leap of Faith, which pulls the target ally towards our location, Dispel Magic, which can remove 1 magical buff from an enemy or 2 magic debuffs from us or an ally, Mass Dispel, which is an AOE version of Dispel Magic, Cure Disease, which removes 1 disease from an ally, Fear Ward, which makes a friendly target immune to the first fear, Levitate, which allows a target to float above the ground, walk on water, and greatly reduce their falling speed, Shackle Undead, which shackles an undead enemy in place, Fade, which temporarily reduces our threat to 0, and finally, Mind Soothe, which reduces the aggro range of a humanoid or dragonkin mob. Now we will cover cooldowns and buffs. For our cooldowns we have Guardian Spirit, which increases the target's healing received by 60% and acts like a cheat death. Shadow Fiend, which restores mana to us whenever we run low on mana. Divine Hymn, which is major AOE healing spell. Hymn of Hope, which restores 2% mana to 3 nearby allies. And Desperate Prayer, which instantly heals us for a very large amount of our health. As for buffs, we have Inner Fire, increasing our armor and spell power. Power, Word Fortitude, granting party and raid members a stamina buff. Shadow Protection, granting party and raid members shadow resistance. Finally, we have Inner Will, which increases our movement speed by 10% and reduces the mana cost of instant cast spells by 15%. A note to add, you can have either Inner Fire or Inner Will buff at a time. Our healing is largely focused on AOE raid-wide healing, but we will often need to help keep the tanks alive during high damage burst phases. For single target healing, the spells we will use are Chakra Serenity, which is activated by casting Flash Heal, Holy Word Serenity, which we will use on cooldown, Prayer of Mending, which we will use on cooldown, Renew, which we will keep applied to anyone who is taking constant damage, Binding Heal, in emergencies whenever you and the target are both low health, Flash Heal, whenever your target is very low health and needs a quick heal, Greater Heal, whenever your target is taking high sustained damage, Heal, whenever incoming damage is very low and you want to reserve mana. Finally, Power Word Shield, which will be used if our target will die. AOE Raid Healing is where we as Holy Priests excel. We will start by casting Prayer of Mending to activate Chakra Sanctuary, increasing our healing done with AOE heals by 15%. Then, we will use Holy Word Sanctuary, which we will place on the ground where the most raid members are at. Circle of Healing, which we will always use on cooldown. Prayer of Mending, which we will always use on cooldown. Prayer of Healing, which we will use to top up any groups that are still low health. Renew, which we will keep applied to anyone who is taking constant damage. Binding Heal, we will use only in emergencies if an ally and yourself are both low on health. And finally, Flash Heal, which should be used whenever our target is very low on health and needs a quick heal. This concludes our Holy Priest guide. I hope you found it useful and it was helpful. Subscribe to my channel, leave a like to show your support, and comment what you would like to see next.